I'm Will.
And I'm Oliver. This year we'll have joined over 1,000 schools up and down the country broadcasting their news today, or to be uploaded onto their school websites by this evening.
Armed with our BBC press passes, we've sent our reporters not just within the school, but further afield to Hawkhurst and beyond to report on local issues.
Have you seen these banners on the outskirts of Hawkhurst? We'll be finding out what they're all about.
And what exactly is this, lurking in the bushes of Sandhurst Garden?
And what has this lot got to celebrate?
And in the school itself, of course, there's always things happening. We bring you news of scholarships,
Of the school play,
of comic relief,
and of course the latest developments visible from the windows of our studio here, the Pre-Prep extension. First to our top story. Leonora and Imogen have been looking at a local issue which has stirred up quite a bit of anger in the village.
That banner, gridlock coming your way, sounds dramatic. What's it about?
Well, there are plans to build more than 100 houses in a field by Hawkhurst next to the primary school. All the villagers are worried what will happen to village life.
It is being proposed by Ward Homes, and we went to speak to David Banfield, their Strategic Land Director.
Can you tell us about your plans for house building in Hawkhurst?
Yes, we have submitted a planning application for 120 houses with an access road out onto the Rye Road. You'll see this is the existing settlement edge of Hawkhurst with the primary school below here. This is our main site, and the access road comes down and through here and joins onto the Rye Road here.
I'm on the main road in Hawkhurst. Here's St Rowland's turn-off, and just down here is the road that's going to lead to the new estate. So the road will go through those fields all the way to the site itself. Imogen is there now.
Beautiful unspoilt Kent countryside. A nice quiet countryside road, which may soon be echoing with the sound of builders and diggers.
This is the site itself. The houses mark the boundary of the Hawkhurst village with the back of Tesco's in white. The estate of 120 houses will spread across this agricultural land.
Building on Greenfield land didn't seem right to us, so we went along to the Hawkhurst Parish Council offices to speak with the councillor Mike Appleby.
So the houses would be located outside the present Hawkhurst boundary, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. That's very important. I mean, there are two conditions it breaks, if you like, against planning policy. And one is that it's outside the limits to build, and the other, it's in an area of outstanding natural beauty.
So are there any brownfield sites within the Hawkhurst boundary which are suitable for development?
There are quite a few, actually.
Quite easily.
Up here, if you Lilsden School, just down the road, down Sellerston Road. That's quite a big site. And then there's Baby's Castle, which is an absolute wreck, which needs building on.
Yeah.
Although there are some sites that have been identified in Hawkhurst itself that are brownfield, the council has released a document very recently that still proposes some development on greenfield sites.
That's unlikely to satisfy the locals. We came across Hawkhurst resident Claire Wiggins walking her dog.
So you've probably heard about the planned houses around here. Do you have any views on that?
I'm opposed. I think if you need houses for the village, they should be on the brownfield sites. And I also believe that we've got builders in the village who are perfectly capable of building them, who we've spoken to, who said they can not only build them, but that would employ 40-odd people within the vicinity.
And she wasn't the only unhappy dog walker.
I'm totally against it because this won't be a nice walk anymore. There'll be 120 houses, 250 cars, 500 humans, all destroying the environment.
So what sort of reaction have you had to these plans?
They're absolutely massive. There's something like 700 letters of objection already, which is quite a lot. And there have been 16 letters, was the last number I came across, in support of the application. But none of the 16 are from people who live in Kent.
Finally, Mr Banfield, what can you say to allay the fears of locals that this development will sadly damage their village and village life?
We would say that if we build 120, it will take us 3 years to build those houses anyway. Then you can have a nice quiet period in Hawkhurst once we've completed building our houses, because all of that allocation will be taken up, and from that point on, no one will have any good reason to build in Hawkhurst.
But Claire Wiggins, for one, is not at all reassured.
Once you've built on Greenfield, then all the Greenfields are open to them. And that's the, we've got so many brownfield sites.
So, quite a major development for a small village like Hawkhurst. Something we should all be interested in.
Yes, absolutely. The locals we spoke to couldn't understand why it had to be built on agricultural land.
Nor why they all had to be built at the same time, when the allocation doesn't have to be until 2026.
Ward Homes did give some answers.
Yes, apparently they're not going to be expanding White's Lane, but keeping its countryside character.
And they're going to landscape it to fit with the countryside.
But the fact remains that 120 homes is bound to have an impact on Hawkhurst's infrastructure.
Yes, absolutely. Our biggest worry is traffic. There'll be at least 100 more cars passing through the village, and no one has any idea how to cope with them.
So what happens now?
Well, the plans go to Tunbridge Wells Borough Council next month, and Hawkhurst Parish Council will be vigorously opposing the plans.
Thank you for that report. If you live in or near Hawkhurst and you want to find out more, then you can visit the Hawkhurst or Tunbridge Wells Council websites.
Nearer home now, and we'll get right up to date with building developments at MHS. The pre-prep extension is nearing completion, and we sent our reporters to ask Head of Pre-Prep, Mrs. Vanessa Coates, what she is looking forward to most.
Really looking forward to getting a new office. Because at the moment you can see I'm in a porter cabin and people keep thinking I'm with the builders. And I'm really looking forward to getting the new school hall.
This is the new hall, so this is very near completion. The biggest job left to do is the floor.
Site manager Dave Sturmer showed us around. So visitors will actually approach a reception area from the practical side. The hall looks light and spacious and will be used for all sorts of events. The builders have already finished one new classroom, and Mrs. White moved in after half-term, so we visited her to see what it was like.
So, is this your new classroom?
It is. We're very lucky.
Do you compare it to your other one?
Oh, very much so. Look at the beautiful light coming in through all the windows. Everything's clean and fresh and lovely. We've got lots of space.
It was big enough to hold a space station. I had to have a look inside. A bit still to do to finish completely, but Connie wants to ask the most important question for any builder. Are they going to finish on time?
Are you on schedule?
Yeah, we managed to hand this one over before time, so we managed to move in. Yeah, so at the minute we are.
Well, that's good. And the builders seem to have had a lot of fun building it.
Building looks fun.
Oh, enough of that.
Last year, our current Year 8s raised several £1,000s with their young entrepreneur schemes, and this year's Year 7s have followed in their footsteps.
We sent Tabitha and Maddie to one unusual scheme. They went to Sandhurst to have tea with some wallabies.
We're here in Josh's house, having wallaby tea. So, Josh, what's this all to do with?
This is all to do with the YES project that Year 7 are doing at Marlborough House this year.
After enjoying our superb homemade scones, we were taken on a wallaby search.
Josh showed us Australian plants that his dad had planted, including eucalyptus and exotic bananas and bamboo. These provide good cover for the wallabies.
then have another one which was last year's Joey on the left, which was is very timid. He's a very timid male who's from a different sort of family. In contrast, we have on the right, we have Zara, our most tame wallaby we have.
How many wallabies do you think we've got altogether?
Well, we've got 10 big wallabies, and then we've hopefully got 3 Joeys in the pouch this year, who will come out when it's better weather.
Can you see she's got a tummy? She's got a rounded tummy?
Yeah.
And that's because there's a Joey in there.
Oh.
So if she's relaxed, you might see can you see the tummy's all stretching out?
Yeah.
And if you watch, it might wriggle. It's going to be sneezing,
It was born in February, and basically, when it's actually born, it's the size of a jelly bean, but it then crawls into the pouch, where it suckles from teats to grow to the size it is now.
We wanted to see a Joey so much, but it seemed too cold for them to look out of their pouch.
What do you feed them on apart from, the grass?
Well, we've got macropods nuts, which we import specially from zoos like Longleats all over the country. And they're basically full of a nutrient that they only get in Australian grass. This is that new macropod nut. I want a wallaby now. They're so fluffy.
They are, well they're in their winter coats. And these would have come from Tasmania, which is the coldest bit of Australia. So
How old did they go up to?
So our oldest here is Wally, who's 6 years old. Zebedee's the same age, and before Wally we had another alpha male called Thumper.
Do you have a favourite wallaby?
I'm not allowed to say.
Well, he may not admit to having a favourite, but we were all about to see ours. Look at the mother's pouch.
Wow.
That Joey was quite young, still pink and hairless, but then we saw another mother with an older one.
He's got one hand out of the pump.
Oh, there we go. That one's a bit further on. You see, that one's got its fur.
A final goodbye from the wallabies. Look carefully at the top of the fence on the right.
There we go.
That was fantastic, Josh. Thank you very much. And how much have you raised?
Round about £79 so far.
Yeah. Well, they're cute.
Yes, especially the Joeys.
I think I'll go and have tea with them. What about you?
Nah, I think I'll go to a pop concert.
Saw Freddie, Tom and Jack, the Crazy Monkeys, put on a gig for their entrepreneur project. When did you start Crazy Monkeys?
Oh, well I've been in it since the start. It was about when I was in year 3, 4, and then Tom joined in about year 4, 5, and then Jack's just joined.
When was the first time you played in front of the school?
It was probably when Tom and I sang Song 69.
Oh yeah, the karaoke.
In the karaoke contest.
Yeah. Did you feel nervous before?
Well, I didn't really, because I've done a lot, but Jack...
I've never done this before. I mean, singing solo is a very scary thing to do. Yeah. In front of a lot of people. Do you know how much by estimate?
Well, so far from tickets, it's been about £50, and we don't know how many people paid on the door and stuff.
Oh.
So.
Thank you very much. Could you now end with a small drum set?
Thank you very much.
Good stuff from the Crazy Monkeys, and especially well done to Jack, who leaves us this week. I can't believe that was his first time performing in front of an audience. Good luck in Abu Dhabi, Jack.
And it's that time of year again for raising money.
Yes, Red Nose Day was a great fun as usual and raised lots of money for Comic Relief. First, we were visited by Davina, who told us more about where the money goes.
Thank you for coming to talk to us about Comic Relief. You must have been involved with the charity for a long time.
I have. It's been absolutely years. I think it may be 12 or 14 years.
I'm sure you've worked with some famous names, and who's been good to work with?
I had a particularly brilliant time with Doctor Who, David Tennant, and he was really good fun. He was really lovely to work with.
Davina explained what slums are really like.
Well, when it rains, water just goes through everything. It goes through all your houses, and with it comes all the rubbish. The rubbish gets dumped in the slums, nobody takes the rubbish away. And there's plastic bags. When you go to a slum, you will hate plastic bags. There's plastic bags everywhere.
And I met some really pretty inspiring women. I met a woman that set up a bakery called the Virtuous Women's Bakery. Isn't that a brilliant name?
Yeah.
The Virtuous Women's Bakery.
At the Virtuous Women's Bakery, just to go back, what Comic Relief gave the money for, what do you need if you want to bake bread? What do you need to cook it in? An oven. And before they had a little oven that they could bake a few rolls in, but Comic Relief funded a project that gave them industrial ovens. So they've got quite a lot of ovens. They can make loads of bread, so the mummies can go sell the bread on the beaches at lunchtime, go and sell it to the workers. They make money and they can feed and clothe their children. And if their kids get an education, what can their kids do with that education? Get a job.
Have you returned to any of the places, and have you seen any improvements?
Well, I had an amazing gift, which was I got to go back to Kenya 3 times to go and visit the same people. So I had a real connection with this little girl called Eunice, and I met her when she was 11, and she was making breakfasts in the slums with her mummy at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was so horrified to see what this little girl had to go through and where she lived. I had to go behind the van the first time that I went there and just cry and cry and cry and cry, and then dry my eyes off, pull myself together and come back out. And I went back, and Eunice, this girl, I went back again when she was 18. She'd gone to university, and she was flying. She was such a bright girl, and I thought, wow, she's gone from making breakfast in the slum to getting an education, a home, security, university, so that her family can get out of that rut.
And the final thing that I want to talk about is what £5 can do. Because £5 can buy a mosquito net. A mosquito net needs to come with some sort of an education. So £5 provides all of that. It also can provide 3 injections for 3 children. It provides protection against 5 deadly diseases.
And what does she think of Red Nose Day?
Red Nose Day is all about laughing a lot, having a really, really good time, but thinking about other people, and that makes us feel good. So it's a double whammy. You're feeling good because you're laughing, and you're feeling good because you're raising money for other people.
Thank you, Davina, for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for raising money for Comic Relief.
Meanwhile, our first Red Nose Day activity involved cakes, lots of them, all baked by male members of the staff and judged by our very own Mary Berry, Mrs. McTrusty.
It's Australia.
And a top tip for a perfect cake?
When you cream your butter and sugar, make sure you cream it for a long time so that it will actually turn white.
More cakes on Red Nose Day itself, this time baked by the children. And then it was down to the sports hall, where Year 7 put together various activities to have fun and raise money.
There was pinning something red on the headmaster,
painting something red on nails,
throwing things in bins,
and many other tasks.
What have you got to do?
Make a paper airplane out of this, sir.
Yeah.
She's pretty rubbish. And you've got to throw off the back and you see how far you get.
Back to the drawing board, I guess. And give it some welly, Henry.
What do you have to do?
Go on. And that tells you how far he's gone.
That's how far it is.
What's the record so far?
440.
Year 1 is winning.
Yeah, year 1's winning.
John drove from year 1, a surprise leader on the bike. And Mr. Twos and Mr. Jug got very wet and cold outside.
Oh my god.
Last week we had a tremendously successful school play. Mrs. Atkins and her team could be seen rehearsing Wind in the Willows in all sorts of unlikely places.
Whack-dabbity-doo, whack-dabbity-doo. In the river turn, whack-dabbity-doo, whack-dabbity-doo. That's what you've got to remember, going forward on whack.
Are you very fond of washing?
I love it. It's my vocation. Laundry is my life.
Well, what a blessing it is that I met you. We can both do each other a good turn.
Coming, Molly. Skip off. Very happily. But where is he? Where's Toad?
Don't scare me.
Here. I think Toad should stand up to them.
Shut up, Mom. You don't understand this.
You don't have to hold him anymore. The car's gone, hasn't it? Okay.
Up, you stay there. No more moving of arms.
Then Henry, Harriet and David were the leads, and they were ably supported by all the Year 8s. Suddenly, it's opening night. Any last-minute nerves?
I am the elegant fox. I am Badger.
You're Badger. And how have rehearsals gone?
Good.
You're confident?
Yeah.
You don't get nervous?
No.
So how are you then, Henry? How are you feeling?
Nervous.
Are you? Were you nervous before the dress rehearsal?
Yes.
And how did it go?
We had a few hiccups.
Okay. Poop. And how's today going to go?
Amazing.
I'm Mole. And what kind of character is Mole?
He's very gauche and nice, and you're meant to really like him.
So, do you think the audience will really like you?
Yeah, well, I hope they will. That's what I've got to portray myself as.
Nervous?
Yeah? Why wouldn't I be?
Well, the other leads profess not to be nervous.
They lie.
Stay in character. The minute you enter that stage, you are that person, that creature.
Well, they certainly did keep in character, and it was a really splendid show. Well done to Mrs. Atkins and all of Year 8s. Rachel saw it. What did you think?
I thought it was a very good performance.
Who was your favourite character?
My favourite character would be the horse, because he was always really grumpy. And
School news now, and a superbly successful year, and a very special one, as it's Mr. Hopkins' last. We'll be asking him how he feels about leaving Marlborough House after 18 amazing years. But first we'll remind him of just some of the success of this year.
Yes, first on the academic front, there were scholarships and awards for academics, music, arts and sports, as well as 100% success in the Cranbrook exams with some of the highest marks on record.
Success too on the sports field, none more exciting than Mr. Hopkins' favourite sport, hockey. First to look at some house matches, where there was plenty of talent on show.
Go on, Freddie!
Freddie takes advantage of some slack Egan defence
whilst in the middle's house matches, Toby cracks one in for Hawkins in the snow. And Ben makes it look easy for eventual winners Audrey. Both the seniors and the Colts got through the regional tournaments to qualify for the prep school's national competitions for the first time ever. Unfortunately, the seniors were unable to go, but the Colts had a great run. I asked them about their successes.
To get into the finals, what did you have to do?
Well, we had to go to the regionals first for the South East, and we played Rose Hill, our main rivals, and beat them. And then we won all the others, got through and played Rose Hill again, and we beat them again. And then we played St. George's and beat them.
So what happened in the finals?
We won our group and got into the semi-finals, and then we drew 2-2, and so it went on to golden goal, and then we lost from a short corner.
Ben shows off his prize for being one of the players of the tournament.
We're back in the studio now with one of the Colts team members. So, Will, what position did you play?
Well, I played goalkeeper.
And what are those trophies for?
This one is for winning the Sutton Valence tournament, and this one is for winning the regional tournament.
Don't forget they were third in the whole country and very close to getting into the national final.
We're nearly at the end of the news, but now we're joined by Mr. and Mrs. Hopkins. Thank you for coming. That must make you very proud, Mr. Hopkins, that our hockey players have done so well.
No, I'm absolutely delighted. They've done terrifically well to get through to 2 national finals, and the Colts to come third in the whole country.
You've been headmaster of MHS for 18 years. What changes have there been over that time?
I would say the biggest single change has been size, in that when in our first September here there were 173 pupils in the school, and of course there are nearly double that now. I'd say one other change has been the fact that there are more girls here now. We have pretty much even number of boys and girls.
And Mrs. Hopkins, you've been headmaster's wife, matron, and no doubt many other jobs as well. You must have many fond memories.
I do, Oliver, yes. But the first memory I have of the school, when we arrived, we brought our 3 young children with us. And the first afternoon here, my daughter made friends with 2 very naughty little girls. They had a wonderful time, and one of those little girls took her shoes off and threw them into Speck, the pond.
And have you any plans for the future?
Yeah, I have. I'm taking on a job at King's Canterbury, where I will be in charge of liaising with prep schools like Marlborough House.
Thank you very much for your time, 18 years of it, and a fitting way to end our first BBC School Report broadcast 2013.
Goodbye from Willoughby and the whole of the BBC School Report team. Have a great Easter.
Bye.